So I don't know about you, but one of my favourite parts of any RPG is the opening hours where you have to spend some time getting decent gear together to survive or make the beginnings of a build. Also helps the game introduce a decent difficulty curve at the start when it knows what kind of weapons and armour you'll have access to. Well, what if that was completely thrown out the window thanks to some pre-order bonuses? That's what happens with the Courier Stash in New Vegas. You start with multiple sets of armour, a decent chunk of ammo, healing supplies, and weapons that are, frankly, absurdly strong for getting them right off the bat. I've mentioned in just about every run before that I make a point to drop these items every time, as even just having them to sell is downright broken, as you can leave the starting town with over 1,000 caps. Naturally, that brings us to today's video, attempting to beat the game with only the pre-order bonuses to see just how competent they really are. The hardest part of this run will probably be the fact that I'll have limited ammo to work with, as you only get so much at the beginning, and also no money, so I will not be buying any. Yes, I could technically sell some of them to get caps and then buy ammo for what I have left, but that did not seem as fun. We'll see if I still feel that way when I'm a few hours in with no ammo and a busted machete. Now, with all that out of the way, let's begin. As I am using the Courier Stash, sticking with the default name seemed the most fitting, assigning specials and it's a focus on strength and luck. The firearms you get while strong, as mentioned, have limited ammo, so I'll want to do as much damage with the melee alternatives that I will also have access to from the stash. I double down on this by making melee weapons one of my 3 tag skills. The other 2 are explosives and repair. Explosives for the Mercenary's Grenade Launcher, easily the strongest weapon out of the bunch, albeit with little ammo, so I figured the more damage I get from it, the better. And then repair is for a mix of skill checks and, well, repairs. More on that in a second when I go over the gear we have in detail. Finally, for traits, I just went with Skilled. More points for slightly less XP that can be offset with a single perk if needed is always too good to pass up. Now in Control proper, this would normally be the part where I drop the lot of them, but instead all I have to get rid of is the starting gear you get for the specific tag skills you go with. In my case, today I need to drop the Dynamite, a Straight Razor, the Vault 21 jumpsuit, 4 stim packs that Doc gives you, the other 5 from the pre-orders, and finally all 6 bobby pins. Biggest takeaway from this is that I will have no lockpicks moving forward, so that's neat. Silver lining, I suppose, I don't need to worry about putting points into the skill. We also have 18 bottle caps, which normally you cannot drop, but do not fret, as I can just put them in any nearby container, living or otherwise. Alright, now, down to what we are working with and the overall game plan. Our weapons are as follows: the broad machete, the Mercenary's Grenade Rifle, sturdy caravan shotgun, 10 throwing spears, a weathered 10mm pistol, and last, but most certainly least, the binoculars. All of them, bar the melee weapon, have limited uses due to ammo, so it shouldn't come as a shock that the machete is going to be the thing that gets us through the majority of this. As caps are also a no-go, you may be wondering how we stop the machete from breaking. Well, this stash also gives you 4 weapon repair kits, so there is your answer. Exactly how much they fix up your weapon is determined by your repair skill, so the plan is to level that up as fast as feasibly possible before we must use any of them. That means combat's gonna be a last resort, as I'll want to conserve the machete's condition as well as the ammo for the guns. That's all well and good, but then why am I wasting bullets on both coyotes and the bark scorpions outside of Goodsprings? The short answer is, cause I don't want this to be a pacifist run. The more detailed answer is that levels, perks and skill points are a necessity for this run if I even want to stand a chance of this gear getting us to the end. So I will need experience, be it from quests, kills, or marking locations. Typically, if I want lots of XP early on, the best thing to do is deal with Tabitha at Black Mountain, or make my way to the Strip and stare at Benny, as both give you enough to level up multiple times. The reason I am not doing either of those yet is I don't know. Instead, I made my way from Hidden Valley through the shortcut and began heading for Nellis, marking multiple locations on the way and leveling up in the process. It all got dumped into Repair, and then Swift Learner to effectively remove the XP debuff from Skilled. This next part might seem like a waste of ammo, but I have traditions to uphold, so I take out George with some good old shotgun fun, or shot fun for short. I take the slow and careful approach to make it through the bombardment. Taking damage is whatever, there are many perks that can help us heal up, but the last thing I want to happen this early on is get crippled, as we only have like 3 doctor's bags and a handful of stim packs to see us through. And I don't think any of us want to watch a video where for 90% of the runtime I am suffering from the blurry concussion effect. Past the raining hellfire section, and I immediately put myself to work by listening to their history lesson, followed by asking questions just to make sure that I was paying attention. After that, I level up once more and now had the repair skill necessary to fix the solar panels. This is good, the XP is flowing in, but now it's time for some actual work as I need to deal with the explosive ants. The broad machete is the way to go naturally, and I play this as safe as I can. Luckily for me, they don't hit very hard and are slow to boot, so avoiding their little bites is simple enough. The only downside is this. Yeah. The broad machete, I guess as a way to somewhat balance it, degrades incredibly fast. A little over 350 swings is all it takes to break it, so I've got to play smart. By which I mean dumping all my level 4 points into melee weapons after I report back to Raquel. Repair is still important for the kits, yes, but if I do more damage, I won't have to swing the weapon as much, meaning it will kind of last longer. For the perk, I went with intense training, and then dropped the point into endurance. Why? Well, after dealing with those issues, I am loved enough to go and raise the bomber. The problem is I can't craft the rebreather, so I need a little more endurance, which allows me to breathe underwater for longer. I also take a slightly different path to the bomber than usual. Normally, I make my way there from the 188, but that'll bring me face to face with a cast of lake lurks, which would most certainly spell my demise. So, this time I make my way for the Repcon building and head east until I arrive at Camp Gulf. This avoids all potential enemies, and so long as I stay away from the shore, I won't be spotted by those lurking around the lake. Arriving at the bomber and the extra endurance works wonders as it only costs 3/4 of my oxygen meter to swim down, attach the ballast and resurface. Once they are both attached, I raise the bomber, then return to the boomers once more for another heaping of XP. I also made sure to drop the boomer outfit that Pearl gifts me. Not quite sure what to be at now, so after mulling over my options, I decided on meeting up with the king and doing the GI Blues quest. After all, it's just you running up and down Freeside talking to people for like 5 minutes before getting a substantial XP payout at the end. Speaking of experience, marking Freeside and arriving in town pushes me to level 5, where I then spread my points among melee and explosives. Figured I'm going to be using that grenade rifle rather shortly, so I figured upping the damage couldn't hurt. Turns out my time in Freeside is cut shorter than expected as I lack the speech skill and funds to convince Pacer to let me see the king. Alright then, plan B for Benny. Gotta make a slight detour to reach the tops today. You know, I could probably fight my way past the Securitrons, but didn't feel like wasting 90% of my grenade rifle ammo, so instead it's off to Camp McCarran to abuse the monorail. Fortunately for us, the NCR don't hold grudges for fare dodging, so once we make it into New Vegas, they don't try to kill us. With the grenade rifle in hand, I stroll into the tops with the ideas of a plan. Laugh and grow fat, you fuck! 4 blasts are all it takes to ring his bell for the final time, but as I am currently being torn asunder by his cronies, I make a swift retreat to the strip. I just about make it outside with my armoured vault suit a tad worse for wear. Not to worry, as like I said, I have a few other armour sets to swap between. On the bright side, blowing off Benny's legs got us enough to reach level 6. I'm back to focusing on repair, although with a few points into unarmed for the piercing strike perk later. Lets the machete ignore a good chunk of armour, so again should make it kill faster to keep it in tip-top shape. I then took toughness because more protection is never bad. All in all, went better than expected. One slight hiccup though is that I need to get back in there and swipe the platinum chip from his well-dressed corpse. My health, how it currently is, I'd be dead before I even got to the stairs. That said, it's also far too early to be using any of my stim packs. So, what do? Well, as it turns out, you have a very slow passive healing effect active at all times. That, along with my trusty Vault 13 canteen, which was also part of the stash, FYI, means with enough patience I can just stand here and wait for days on end until my health is high enough for me to rush in and grab the chip. Well, I'm a little impatient and ended up charging in with just over 1/4 of my health. I mean, it does work. I managed to get to what's left of Benny and loot the chip for another 990 XP, I might add. This does mean I have to use one of my super stim packs to survive the journey out, but I feel it was worth it. Maybe. Level 7, and now it's survival. If I want to improve my passive healing, this is the way to do it. But for now, I take the chip to Mr. House, watch the demonstration, and then while he is still gloating, open the walls to make my way down to the basement so that I may remove him from the picture. I really am just wasting these shells willy-nilly upon rewatching this. Once more, another whole heaping of experience, and it's level 8 now. All in on survival again, and without thinking, I took Super Slam. Typically, this is the best melee perk in the game. knocks your opponent down, and makes one-on-one encounters a complete joke. Problem is, for whatever reason, it does not work with the broad machete. I knew this, it happened in the Jason run 4 years ago. I made the same mistake there. I should have learnt from this, but I didn't, meaning I have wasted a perk point. Why did I not just load back? No clue. Anyway, pressing on. With house out of the way, naturally it would be time to install Yes Man, but I really did not want to stroll back into the tops, seeing as they'd still be out for blood, so it was time to take a detour from the main quest. Still wanted more levels, so figured now was the time to tackle Tabitha. Start off with a few hits and VATs for the added defense and crit chance, and then, once it's time to fight properly, I play aggressively by rarely letting up, all the while circling her to avoid her attacks. Hey, if it's good enough to work for 90% of the bosses in the Dark Souls series, then it's good enough on this Angry Blueberry. Sure enough, it works, and I only take minimal damage. Also level 9. Went back to Goodsprings and dealt with the powder gangers after this. Not entirely sure what I was thinking, it's minimal XP, and I used my guns to boot. I guess sometimes you just really need to wipe out some powder gangers. Can't argue with that logic, I suppose. After, I begin marking some more locations, specifically the 188 and Boulder City. While in the latter, I also opted to rescue the NCR troops by way of explosive persuasion. Firing a grenade launcher in an enclosed space was not one of my brighter ideas, as it broke my arm and many a rib. Didn't even kill Jessup either, had to finish him off with a sturdy shotgun after the fact. Still, can't complain, helped me reach level 10, getting my survival to 70 and allowing access to Radchild. A completely busted perk, I am aware, as now I will get better passive healing the more irradiated that I am. Don't get to see it in action just yet, as I instead ran off towards Cottonwood Cove. Forgot to mention that after I detonated Benny, I got the Mark of Caesar from Volpes, so I am allowed to come and go as I please. Also, when you take the boat up the river, you get fully healed, so huzzah. Not planning to side with Caesar, by the way, in one part because I don't want to, and another as it brings out people who take this fictional world a little too seriously. No, I am actually just here to install the Securitron's upgrades for House post-mortem. The Protectrons are, well, Protectrons. Zero hassle from them. As for the turrets though, well, I needed to whip out the firearms. Getting up close and personal with them is a death sentence. Even brought out the throwing spears for the first time this run. They hit as hard as ever, probably more effective than you'd think they'd be against machinery. In fact, they are so strong, I decided to put them away and save them for later. Feel I'd rather use them on tougher enemies, specifically ones that can at the very least move. The final turrets I just dispatch very carefully behind cover with the 10mm. Once it's all said and done, I have a single bullet left for it. Wonderful, an easy out for the fight with the Legate. After installing those upgrades, I return to Caesar to get some easy helpings of XP, as he believes I destroyed the bunker, even though I didn't. Plus, he doesn't listen to me carefully enough when I tell him about the boomers. Forgot to mention, I also got a little irradiated beneath the fort, so I now heal about 2 HP every second. May not seem like a lot, but it allows me to fully heal by waiting or fast traveling from this point on, which, if for nothing else, will speed things up on my end when trying to wait for my health to regen the old way. With my bootleg Wolverine healing underway, I return to the tops to slowly start slicing my way through them, all the way to Yes Man, who I then had immediately installed over at the Lucky 38. Oh, and I'm level 11 now. Woohoo! In an ever so classic instance of Nerbit is wasting his finite resources, I waddled on into Gomorrah and began putting belt to ass. I most certainly did not need to be doing all this, and yet here we are. Ammo and durability aside, this also cost me my second doctor's bag. That means we have only one left. Wasn't quite sure what to be at after that, all I knew was I needed more experience. This time I needed it for speech. Alright, let's be blunt, there is no way in hell I am going to be able to face down Lanius with all his backup, so I was going to need at least 90 in speech to goad him into the duel. Considering I drained all the points from Charisma and haven't begun investing in the skill itself yet, then I am going to need at least like 6 more levels to get me to that stage. In other words, it's time to really get questing. I figured helping Prim in the Mojave Outpost would be simple and quick. After all, it's something I typically do within the first hour of most runs. It's machete time throughout all this, so I did have to pop one of my 4 repair kits before saving the town. It's fine, I'm totally not incredibly concerned about running out of those before making it to the dam. Freeing Beagle, then dealing with a few Vipers down the road pushed me to level 12, and I made the executive decision to get the last points in Unarmed for Piercing Strike before hard focusing on Speech. Fighting the legate one-on-one is all fine and dandy, but I still need to be able to actually hurt the man. That said, at this current level, I took Here and Now. Don't realistically need Piercing Strike yet, and I can just grab it at level 14 while I begin upping my speech. In the middle of clearing out the ants for Jackson, I am approached by the NCR Ranger edgelords, and they start yapping about how I done messed up. This is because I am working with Yes Man and very briefly Caesar. Luckily, you have 3 in-game days to improve your rep, something I do right away by finishing off the ants, telling Ghost about Nipton, and then finally getting Lieutenant Hayes his reinforcements to protect Prim. Racking my brain at what I could do next, I eventually settled on finding the traitor at Camp McCarran. It's as simple as speaking with some of the higher-ups, Boyd specifically, then just entering the communications tower at the right time while sneaking. I don't engage the traitor, but rather wait until the quest log updates, then book it for the monorail so that I can get the best outcome for the quest with the least amount of violence. Rather self-explanatory, while I am grinding out levels, I'm also trying to do so with the least amount of combat possible to save resources. Ironically, that then led me to the Brotherhood of Steel. Outside of being a little extra and destroying Dobson's radio with the shotgun, I shouldn't have to lift a finger to complete their quest. That said, I am going the faster Harden route. Simply put, I really just did not feel like running through the vaults again for McNamara's side of the quest. The holotapes are thankfully all in places I've already visited, which makes my life easier. Only enemies I came across were the centaurs, and we all know how they just meander about. Really, the only annoying part of this quest is how many times you need to run up and down through the base. Makes me think the incoming level from Harden was actually due to all the cardio I just got in. After this, I went on 2 field side adventures that I'm just going to quickly cover. I visited both Raoul at his shack after freeing him from Tabitha, as well as the Brotherhood safe house due to being adored by them. For some reason, I had it in my head that both of these NPCs gave free repairs, but I was completely wrong, so I essentially wasted my time running around here. Honestly, I'm just impressed I managed to avoid getting sliced to ribbons by the abundance of death claws in this part of the map. Lucky for me, I guess, that standing on slightly elevated surfaces is their one true weakness. After that whole debacle, my idea was to finish up Yes Man's side of things leading to the final battle, as you typically get a good chunk of experience for those final couple of main quests. First up was I need to meet the Cans. Apparently those in Boulder City weren't real. This had me fight through a couple of fiends, but nothing too outside my capabilities. That said, the machete is currently being held together by thoughts and prayers. Once at the canyon, I wanted to try and help them, but believe it or not, when their only past run-ins with you include death by grenade rifle, they tend to want nothing to do with you. Probably for the best, I don't think I would have been able to reach Melissa at the top of the quarry. Only faction left to meet is the White Gloves, and that's exactly what I do. A simple hello and goodbye. If I am desperate for XP, I'll solve their cannibal problem later. In a similar vein in how I told Caesar about the boomers, I did the same with Crocker. Again, he too fails to comprehend exactly what I am saying, and just assumes they support the NCR without question. I still lack the speech skill to get by Pacer, so can't go on with their quest. However, upon returning to Yes Man, I can inform him I have met all the B-tier factions, which puts me at saving Kimball and installing the override chip at the substation. So I decide to head for the dam first and sort all that out. Thanks to working on my rep from the NCR for as long as I have, I'm able to get the green light on everything from Ranger Grant, so I can have my weapons drawn and go anywhere. Doesn't change too much as I still just camp the ladder in the sniper's nest. We manage to take him down easily enough, but the ensuing gunfire promptly cuts the speech short and Kimball is out of there. Problem is, I ran for the nest first, so... Whoops! Can't load back either, as my last save was well over 40 minutes ago. Ah well, on to bigger and better things. By which I mean accidentally angering the NCR over at the substation with my presence. They may be hostile, but so long as I don't kill any of them, then my rep should be fine. Last thing I want is for them to attack me on sight. The NCR is the faction with the most quests in the game. I would like to not be locked out of them, thank you. While I was running away, I made a break for Novak because why not, right? Well, for some reason, old lady Gibson outside of town was out for blood. Couldn't tell you why, I just ignored her, and after I marked the town and she lost interest, I fast travelled out of there back to the Lucky 38. I told Yes Man about the successful and failed tasks, got my XP for reaching the finale, then made sure to say no so that I could continue playing for a little while longer. Figured Freeside had some walking and talking jobs I hadn't tackled yet, so started with those. The Garretts in particular have 2 quests, one each, which require next to no fighting. Francine needs me to shake down Lady Jane, Grex and Santiago for money, which is easily done through a few simple speech checks. James then needs me to be a pimp as I recruit Beatrice and Santiago, the latter of which required zero convincing even after I collected the money he owed. All that leaves is grabbing Fisto. The rats in his building are easily dealt with, seeing as they are rats, but freeing the man himself is a bit more troubling as I lack both the science skill to get him out myself and the speech to convince Ralph to give me the code for free. That's fine, we can just put a pin in this till later. After turning over the caps owed to Francine, she puts out a hit on their last debt collector to finish the quest. I was alright with killing him, but ended up passing the requirements for him to hand over the hat and save myself some durability in the process. Thinking of ways to level up, it occurred to me I never helped Jack's love life over in Nellis, so did the back and forth for that real quick. Not much, but it's honest work. Turns out I was able to help one can, that being Jerry, as I sent him off to the followers. Genuinely forgot that was even a quest. If it seems like I am jumping around randomly, it's because I was. Kept remembering random small quests that require very little from the player, so was just following through with them once I thought of them. For instance, heading back to Novak to help Boom with his target practice, as well as cheering up Ranger Andy, followed by immediately depressing him when I tell him that the Legion attacked and killed everybody at the nearby station. As I'm close by, I made my way over to Helios to see about helping there. After having my brain cells die by the second when talking with Fantastic, I head outside to activate the 2 nearby terminals, as well as disarming some traps for good measure. Didn't matter a whole lot in the end, as I'm pretty sure I lacked the science skill to open the doors to get further in to fix and power up the station. That said, it wasn't all for naught. I used the throwing spears to take out one of the Mr. Gutsies that was being more aggressive than the rest, and in doing so hit level 16. More points into speech of course, but then I took Confirmed Bachelor. People have told me in the past that if you take this perk, then use it to flirt with Major Knight over at the Mojave Outpost, you can get repairs for free. So that's what I did. Except it did not work. I did the flirting and the speaking, but it did not matter. I have 0 caps, and I cannot fix my equipment for free. I'm not wasting a second perk this run, so I loaded back to just before the level up, and this time took Tag, which, as the name implies, allows me to tag yet another skill to immediately raise it by 15. No points for guessing what I chose. With this new increase, I can now wrap up my business in Freeside as I can convince Ralph to get me to Fisto, as well as allow me to get by Pacer to do the GI Blues quest, since I can talk my way through. The first stage with Oris doesn't go too smoothly due to me not being perceptive or smart enough medically to catch him out, so instead I just throw spears at him until I can put him out of business that way. I'll be honest, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I said I'd save these for a tougher foe, but what's done is done I suppose. Anyway, I run through the second half of the quest, and that pushes me to level 17 and 85 speech. Pretty sure it's 90 I need, so a few more quests and I'm good to finally push on to the end. Regardless, I put my smooth talking to the test by easily convincing the captured Centurion to spill the beans, which puts me so close I can almost taste it. You'd think I'd try something easy, but my dumbass decided the best place to get the last of the XP would be none other than Jacobstown, so off I went. I somehow avoided all the cazadors and fiends that littered the path before getting on the road, but I was not so fortunate with the mantises right outside the town. By this I mean they broke my legs. I ended up just using some stim packs to fix them, could have used the final doctor's bag, but I figured it would be better saved used as close to the end as possible. I helped Marcus get rid of the mercenaries harassing the town, and then by helping with Doc Henry's Nightkin research, I was able to finally reach level 18 and get past 90 speech. Before rushing off to get butchered by the legate, I took a dip in the Jacobstown pool so that I could push my radiation sickness to the limit to get the absolute most out of Radchild. I may be taking some heavy penalties to my special stats, but 8 HP regen per second far outweighs those drawbacks in my opinion. Anyway, onwards to the final battle. The crossing of the dam is whatever, I just ignore the Legion as they are distracted by the NCR and my Securitrons. I made sure to push into the Legate's camp as fast as possible, that way the Securitron that usually follows you in will be left behind. I'm doing this because if it lets off a missile barrage it can absolutely decimate the Legate, and while that would certainly make my life easier, I feel like it would cheapen this final encounter. When I pass the speech check to begin the 1v1, I drop a save so I don't have to keep doing it, then get down to fight. Let's not beat around the bush, he slaughters me. So many times. I have about 30 odd minutes of footage here of just Legate attempts. To be honest, the machete does more damage than I thought it would, all things considered, especially the first 5 hits that I can make use of those 5 poisons I got from the stash. They do 10 points every second for 15 seconds, so they lay on the damage early on. In terms of armor, I saved my lightweight metal set just for this so it would be in peak condition as it offered the highest defense out of all the other ones we started with. I could somewhat stand my ground against him, getting the odd hit off in VATS for extra crit chance, then making sure to block whatever came my way. It should be noted I had the foresight to snag the Stonewall perk so that he wouldn't be able to knock me down at all during the fight. The only issue with blocking is he can crit sometimes, and when he does, the damage is quite considerate. Can't tank too many of those, that's for sure. We can cheese him though, to a certain degree. Like every other enemy, the Legate cannot jump, so we can give him the runaround, or outright confuse his AI, by getting ourselves in places where it's normally difficult to reach. Running off this little cliff to this part would more often than not have him run away and disengage as he attempted to find a way to reach me. This would give me all the time in the world to regen back to full with Radchild. So the strat was to basically keep doing this to win. That said, they do have some sort of workaround for this. If you are out of range of his sword and he has no way to get back in melee distance, he will occasionally pull out a 9mm and start firing. It doesn't do much to be fair, but still, when this happens, I am worried about him crippling me. Only have so many healing supplies left to fix any broken bones, and should he cripple a leg specifically, with no way for me to fix it, then the fight is as good as over. It was really just down to a lot of trial and error and how much he decided to crit me on any one given attempt. Sometimes when I was running away to the safety of my rock, he would kill me instantly, and sometimes he would follow me down. Sometimes I could get him stuck in the most terrifying game of Ring Around the Rosies, and other times he would decapitate me. Oh, and he also starts slowly healing himself with his own special brand of healing powders after getting him to half, and he does the bit where he briefly runs away. Feel I can't get too mad at that one, as after all, I am passively healing a lot more than he is. I suppose this is only fair. At one point, when running away from him to heal, he got stuck inside the wall, and I thought maybe this was my chance. But not only could I not damage him like this, but he popped out not long after and beat me senseless. Eventually, through sheer perseverance, and again I cannot stress this enough, luck, I was able to get him closer to death than any previous attempt. I just stuck close, attacked when I could, blocked or dodged everything else, and like Tabitha earlier, tried to circle him to stay out of the kill zone. The stars also aligned in that I was able to get to my healing spot safely, he did not follow me, and instead pulled out the pistol and backed off. With this, I could fully heal and then rush him down. Now, my attacks don't do a whole lot here, but I was able to survive blocking a few of his swings. Once he left himself open, I quickly switched over to the final throwing spear, and with a 95% chance to hit his head in VATS, I let that sumbitch fly, and wouldn't you know it, it crit, taking the Legate's head clean off and winning us the fight. I did try to find out where it ended up, but for the life of me, I just could not locate it. Apologies. With nothing left to give, I made my way for the gate, spoke with Oliver, then just ordered Yes Man to uppercut him off the dam, finishing the game and proving yes, you can indeed beat Fallout New Vegas with only the courier stash or pre-order bonuses. I don't know what I'm titling this video. Alright, so, not as overpowered for an entire playthrough as I initially may have thought. That said, if you weren't so stubborn like me and allowed yourself to buy ammo and repairs, then it would have been a breeze. Also, yes, after seeing how strong that final throwing spear was against the Legate, I really wish I had saved all 10 of them instead for this fight, as that would have made things go by much smoother. Regardless, that's going to be the end of this challenge video. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider giving the video a like. If you're interested in more challenges in the future, feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to run these videos out fairly frequently. My name's Nerbit, stay safe everyone, I'll see y'all in the next video.